Hello and welcome back to We Talk Boxing. So this is just a post-fight breakdown between Haney versus Kambosos. First of all, I've got to say, what a fight! Devin Haney's performance this morning, I should say, not last night, was sensational. Do you know what I mean? It was punch perfect. He outboxed Kambosos from round one. Clearly was the far dominant and superior boxer throughout that fight, and he made it noticeable. Like I said, from round one, he just took the fight to Kambosos, who was the champion and the guy who was fighting in his own backyard. He was keeping him at bay with his jab. His jab throughout the fight as well was just top notch. But again, through the first couple of rounds, he was keeping him at bay through that jab. Every now and again, trying to pop that right hand over the top. But what I was most impressed with was the distance and his footwork and the speed and the agility that he showed. You know what I mean? Not just in the first couple of rounds, but throughout the whole fight. And you know what I mean, many times throughout the fight, you know what I mean, you could just see Kambosos, his face. You know what I mean? He was just frustrated. He looked pissed off. He didn't really know what to do. His boxing skills was non-dominant. You know what I mean? He's a world level fighter, but Haney, you know what I mean, made him look, you know what I mean, basic, to be fair. And on any other day, if Kambosos was fighting any other fighter in that division, he would have given him a good fight. But you know what I mean, Haney, like I said, his skills were just phenomenal, and I was really impressed with his jab. And that jab, you know what I mean, just brought back shades of Muhammad Ali in my head. And his defense as well, his movement, his switching, his spinning, his footwork, you know what I mean, a little bit of Floyd Mayweather, you know what I mean, he's got both of their traits, you know what I mean, nailed into one really. And like I said, I was very impressed, and like, I thought this fight would have been a little bit tougher for Haney. I thought he would have potentially, you know what I mean, have got clipped and maybe got put down by Kambosos at some point, because that was my pre-fight thoughts, but nothing like that happened. And I feel as if he would have done what Teofimo Lopez did and tried to mix it with Kambosos, then maybe Haney would have got caught, and maybe he would have touched the canvas, or maybe got properly rocked at some point throughout the fight. But you know what I mean, he stuck to his game plan. He boxed him, he outboxed him, he kept him at bay, and like I said, just frustrated him. And on any other day, you know what I mean, you never know. Kambosos probably would have put up more of a fight and probably got in the face. But for me, you know what I mean, there was no way the judges could have robbed Haney of this fight, even though the scorecards, you know what I mean, a bit shocking in my eyes from, you know what I mean, from a couple, you know what I mean, sorry, by one of them. Overall, it was 118 over 110 for two judges, which was about right, give or take. But the other judge, 116 over 12. I don't really know what they were watching there, because you know what I mean, you could kind of argue that, you know what I mean, I gave Kambosos 3 rounds, I think, you know what I mean, and that was quite tough. First round was, you know what I mean, a draw, 10-10. And I think it was what other round was it? Yeah, I think it was round 5 and round 10 I gave to Kambosos. But apart from that, you know what I mean, I don't see where the other rounds came from. You know what I mean, where, like, pretty much what that judge was watching, really. But like I says, very impressive. You know what I mean, and you know what I mean, as I said, shades of Muhammad Ali and Mayweather-esque in that style, which is what I like, and it takes him now to the top of the pile now in that division. You know what I mean? He's the man that everyone needs to kind of dethrone, and there's some brilliant fights out there now, you know what I mean, in that weight division, and it's up to Haney what he does. Like, he could pick and choose now who he wants to kind of reel off, and it's a little bit like what Mayweather did when he was coming up, and obviously he got his world title and stuff like that, and then he not cherry picked, but you know what I mean, he was picking opponents who he kind of knew he had some sort of advantage, and you know what I mean, or maybe caught that particular fighter when they were on the way down, etc. But You know what I mean? Haney's in that position now, so he could pick and choose. And there's some brilliant fights. You've got Lopez again, who's still a very top fighter. Lomachenko, Davis, Garcia. Do you know what I mean? Just those names, you know what I mean, alone is like, it's incredible. It's incredible, to be fair. And, you know what I mean, there was talk as well that potentially Shakur Stevenson's could potentially move up and them guys could have a potential fight. But how I see it, you know what I mean, there's at least 5, 6, 7 good fights there, you know what I mean, for Haney before he even contemplates that. You know what I mean? And I say pick and choose who you want. You know what I mean? Look who's the potential weakest out of those guys and cherry pick them one by one. And hopefully he could retain all the titles as well. I can't see that happening because obviously all the mandatories and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? The world's his oyster. He's certainly gonna be up there for the next big pay-per-view star, and potentially even the next Floyd Mayweather. But as I said, you know what I mean? Even though there's some brilliant fights there, and he's at the top of the pile right now, he needs to pick and choose wisely because, as we've seen with the previous guys, like all it takes is the next best thing, and the next best thing could potentially overshadow you and beat you, etc. Because obviously look at Loma. Loma was a champion, and T.O. beat him. Then obviously Kambosos beat T.O. and now Haney's beat Kambosos. So you know what I mean. It seems as if they're knocking each other all off one by one. So what I think Haney should do next is look and see who's the potential, not weakest, but the one who he feels that he has the more of an advantage of out of those guys next. And try and take them apart one by one. You know what I mean? I've probably missed the big elephant, and the big elephant is that there is a rematch clause. But ideally, you know what I mean? It was a masterclass, and like I wouldn't want to see it again because I feel as if we're just going to see the same sort of fight again. And Kambosos only has a puncher's chance. He hasn't got the skills to beat Haney. He's just got a puncher's chance. However, Kambosos is a warrior, and he did fight bravely. You know what I mean? He didn't go down once. You know what I mean? He stayed in there till the last bell, kept trying to come forward, but his work rate and you know what I mean, the frustration that he felt was just not enough, and he was, you know what I mean, he wasn't throwing many punches as well. So you never know, they could potentially come back in the future and probably try and change things, but I honestly feel as if we'll be seeing the same fight again in the rematch. But he will potentially take the rematch, but you know what I mean, only because he's got the rematch. It's weird to say, but anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts of how you felt the fight went, and what do you think's next for Haney? You know what I mean, like who would you want him to go through next if the rematch clause isn't activated? Bless.